Hello everyone, it's Paola and welcome to a new Theater Thursday video. Today I wanted to talk about pop culture on Broadway. So pop culture on Broadway to me means musicals that have been adapted from the screen to the stage. So like Heathers, Mean Girls, Legally Blonde, Clueless, Frozen, Pretty Woman. There are so many of them, and I'm getting pretty tired. Don't get me wrong, I love Mean Girls, I love Heathers, Legally Blonde. I love these musicals, but do they really add anything new to the story? The answer is no. I mean, really think about it. Heathers the musical is exactly the same thing as Heathers the movie. I think the only difference is that instead of going to a college party, Veronica and Heather Chandler go to a high school house party. In Mean Girls, it's the exact same thing. Katie still pretends to be dumb for Aaron. Regina is still an insufferable bitch. Karen is still an airheaded blonde. And it's the same thing with Legally Blonde. Only in this one, the relationship between Emmett and Elle is way more developed than in the movie. But still, there's nothing new to any of them. There is no twist. There is no new character. There is nothing new and substantial that makes you think that this is an original take on the musicals. So I'm tired and annoyed and I want to talk about it. I read a couple of articles on this. All of them will be linked down below. But the first quote that I would like to pull from them says, "It's become less about art. It's less about what else can we do with this musical form," said Professor George Hillo, who teaches a class at Christopher Newport University called From Broadway to Hollywood and Back. It's more about how can we make a killing on Broadway using something that's got a proven fan base. And I think it's very interesting because if you look at the history of Broadway and Hollywood and Broadway together, Hollywood producers used to love adapting the stage to the screen. So My Fair Lady, West Side Story, The Sound of Music, and later on with Rent and Mamma Mia. I think it's very interesting how that is reversed now. Another thing that I found really interesting in this article says, with average ticket prices near $80, the financial success of film-based musicals has proven that plenty of theater goers tend to spend cash on familiar brands, which I think speaks to a whole lot of financial privilege. Not to be that person, but I am a Mexican person who was born and raised in Mexico in a very middle class family. The theater is super expensive here, and if we were to go and spend a lot of money on a trip to New York, you can bet your ass that if I said let's spend $80 each between my sister, my mom, and myself, that if I told my mom that I wanted to spend $240 on a musical about a movie that we've already seen, she would just be like, no, let's just put on the movie. And you can say what you want about like appreciating art or appreciating musicals or whatever, but I don't really think I would spend $80 on a thing that I already know, something where I already know how I'm gonna feel about it. I already know how it ends. And I think that makes the experience a little bit boring for me. Like, no disrespect to people who can and will spend their money on these musicals, but it's just not something that I would find attractive or even feasible. I would like a new experience, something where there's a little bit of mystery. Another quote says, since Beauty and the Beast came out in 1994, 4 of the 10 longest running new musicals, including The Lion King, Hairspray, and The Producers, have been based on films, according to research from the Broadway Link, the industry's national trade association. Film-based musicals comprised about half of the top 10 grossing musicals in each of the last 10 years. And about 1/3 of the musicals appearing on Broadway this season are based on films, including Catch Me If You Can, Sister Act, and Priscilla Queen of the Desert, which opened this year. This was back in 2011, by the way. So I think it is very interesting how familiar musicals get people to go to the theater. I don't think it's completely unrealistic. Like, my personal experience is something completely separate, but I can see why you wouldn't want $80 to go to something you wouldn't like. You already know what Sister Act is about. Of course you're going to spend $80 on it because you already know it's money well invested. But I can't say the same thing for myself. I would like to experience something new. Except that Sister Act was actually genius. It's still the same story, but the fact that it was original songs there made it a lot more compelling. Finally, the last quote that I pulled is from 2017, and it says, "The upcoming season includes intensely commercialized shows, and developing productions seem even worse. According to Playbill.com, Broadway's 2018 season will include a SpongeBob SquarePants musical, Escape to Margaritaville, Mean Girls, Frozen, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child Parts 1 and 2, and King Kong. What seems even more shocking, however, are the Broadway shows still in development. These include The Cher Show, Beetlejuice, and even The Devil Wears Prada." With SpongeBob SquarePants, it was completely different. I know a lot of my friends who were worried about this musical, and as it turns out, they loved it. I still haven't listened to the cast recording, which needs to change. But I think what was successful, or what would be successful for me, I'm not talking about financial stuff, I'm talking about my personal taste. I think the key to success to me with SpongeBob SquarePants is the fact that it's not, you know, the movie of SpongeBob SquarePants turned into a musical. It's a completely original take on the characters in SpongeBob SquarePants, and that's what makes it interesting to me. Frozen, I already know what it is about. I can watch the movie on Netflix. I wouldn't really want to spend $100 on it on Broadway. And then I took the time to go through a list about musicals that are in development, that are based on movies, and it is ridiculous. It says here, in the works: 13 going on 30, 17 again, The Bodyguard, Bull Durham, The Devil Wears Prada, The Flamingo Kid, Magic Mike, The Preacher's Wife. What? It's just ridiculous to me because, I mean, in mainstream media, we love to scream about how unoriginal studios are with all these like live action films that nobody wants. Apparently nobody wants, but then everybody goes to the theater and sees them. So do you really not want it? Like, show the people that you don't want live actions and maybe they'll stop doing live actions. But then in Broadway, it's the same problem. Like, I don't understand why we have to have a musical about Magic Mike. Why do we need a musical about 13 going on 30, 17 again? Are you kidding me? And I understand the need for like financial security, but also, like, I'm bored already and I'm tired and I don't want any of these to happen. I just want new musicals that are good and that speak to my soul. Or even better, why don't you turn these successful musicals to movies? Why do it the other way around and make pop culture even less accessible to the public? What is happening here? I hate it. Alrighty, so that is it for today's video. Sorry I got a little heated there. Let me know down below what's your opinion on pop culture on Broadway. What are some of your favorite and least favorite musicals that were originally movies and got turned into musicals? And if you haven't already and you'd like to, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!